All right, we are settled. That took a little while. It took a little while, kind of like getting a woman to squirt, right? We were. I was reading that in the book. And to pick up where we left off, I really appreciate your attention to the social, emotional, cultural factors that go into female pleasure, as well as the cultural history behind this practice as well. And your book, you really went into a lot of like East versus West kind of ideas about female pleasure, about relationships, about marriage, about gender roles. I really found it interesting. And I can tell you spent a ton of time researching for this book, because there's a lot of research studies that you mentioned that I also have already come across in my PhD studies, my research on female arousal and mindfulness. And then there was some more that I didn't even know about. So that was really cool to add to that. And for your book is not large, but the breadth and comprehensiveness of everything that you cover is quite large, I've felt. And you didn't put a lot of fluff in there. You really got to the point of what it is that you wanted to say and covered so much. I just think it's a fantastic starting point for anyone who wants to learn more about female pleasure, just satisfying sex for anyone, any gender. And also, you mentioned if you are somebody who is dating somebody from another culture, do your best to understand their culture, their context, and where they come from, because that plays so much into the sexual experience as well. So thank you for putting out such a beautiful piece of art.
I appreciate your kind words, and it's always nice to hear when someone's appreciated the work that you've kind of put in, and you captured magnificently what my intentions was with the book, that yes, to amplify the voices of African women in particular. And also I wanted the book this is my sixth book, and some of my previous books I've kind of gone into a bit more detail with like research, and I lost a number of, you could say, everyday readers or the lay people. So that's why with this book I wanted to make it quite concise and get to the point, but then at the same time back it up with the research so people can appreciate that this isn't just me speaking or trying to like romanticize African culture or certain practices. I wanted to kind of show the research put into it, and then obviously to hopefully kind of share some of the contributions that African culture or Africans have made towards female sexuality.
And it's so beautiful, because I think one thing that you mentioned in your live shofar is that African people are often, over-sexualized or thought of as, very sexual beings. Whether that's true or not true, that's not the point, but it's the way that it's perceived, and you really brought the sacredness into the practice, which I that was probably my favorite part of the book. But also I've been diving into some of this other research as well on female sexuality, so I really, really appreciated the cultural aspects, and especially the you really almost felt like you prioritized the perspectives of the sengas, the female educators from Africa who teach this practice to, is it only females to females? Is that?
Females to females.
Yeah, yeah. So I really loved learning about that. And I thought, gosh, I would love to be a senga. Like, I wonder if maybe I was one in a past life. I don't know. Like, what a cool job. Like, it's like almost like a sexual medicine woman for the community, which is really beautiful to learn about that heritage and that culture. And then, and how important it is. And then you talked about like cultural appropriation too. And it got me thinking, there's so many ways that maybe Western culture has culturally appropriated, indigenous cultures or African cultures or different practices or things. Yoga is such a great example, right? Kirti and I have talked about this and what is considered cultural appropriation and what is appreciation of the practice. And I feel like if we use that similar analogy to sexuality and squirting, let's say, it's almost like squirting has been culturally appropriated from women too, if women are considered a culture as a group, collective group, because it's something that, and I even checked this on Google to see if I could find any videos on squirting that were educational, and it was like so much porn came up. And then I found like one video that is a couple on YouTube that's doing sexual education. And I was like, wow, that's not educational. The porn is not educational. It's just getting straight to the main event of the action shots or whatever else. And all the sacredness and all of the context has been removed from the actual practice, which is such a beautiful, can be such a beautiful spiritual experience for a woman to have, and her partner as well.
Yes, most definitely. And I mean, you touched